Hello, everyone. This is the second episode of Stellar Drift. I'm Erica, and my players here are on the way to the Erondo starbase. So I'll let them introduce themselves as they travel on our starship.
I will start as Captain Caligos Fane. Caligos is a young Lashunta of the Damaya subspecies. He has decided to leave the Steward Academy prematurely, which some soulless bureaucrats consider going AWOL. He considers it withdrawing from courses because life has led him elsewhere. In the wake of the Scoured Stars incident, when his parents went missing, one of them works for the Stewards, the other is a longtime Starfinder. And so, distraught over a lack of activity after his parents' disappearance, along with most of the rest of the Starfinder Society, he withdrew from the Academy and took his talents and proclivities elsewhere, and tried to get together his own little crew. And he is now eager to try and lead his crew on a bunch of zany misadventures, helping out the Starfinder Society and hopefully freeing up resources that are needed so that the society moves forward on rescuing his parents.
Velasco?
I'm playing Belasco Marsh, a mysterious drow operative who's super edgy and likes long coats and smoking. He has a treasured plasma sniper rifle, which he does not go into detail about. In fact, he doesn't go into detail about very much. He's pursued consistently by bounty hunters for reasons he won't disclose. Isn't he mysterious? Wouldn't you like to know more? Belasco Marsh? That's not a very dark elven name. I wonder if it's an alias.
Ooh, who knows? Maybe we'll find out. Sparks, tell me about your character.
I am playing Sparks, and Sparks is an Ahsoka technomancer. I also have a little bit of ability with engineering, electronics, that kind of thing. Sparks is an anomaly in the Ahsoka culture. She has lost her entire, I call it her Warren family. Her entire burrow collapsed one day while she was out at the Arcanamarium study. So she is alone, and she is constantly trying to forge this little team into her new family.
And finally, Zan.
Hi, my name's Robert. I'm playing Zan, a human Solarian. Something of an outcast and a drifter who's kind of been moving through society in the station. You'll find Zan, who is currently a human female, sitting at the controls of the ship, fingers flying over it desperately, very tense, his eyes narrow down on the control panel, until finally giving up, smashing the control panel and yelling out a curse word. And then yelling that these online gamblers cheat, and this is shit, and then shutting the control panel off. Shutting the control panel off and leaning back and putting her hands behind her head and trying to take a nap in the pilot seat of the ship as we are in the drift.
Excellent. So yeah, you all have been traveling for a couple weeks now on the way to the Erondo starbase. It is nicknamed Fortune. We'll see if there's any to be made here. What typical things do all of you, do on the starship as you're traveling? What habits do you settle into?
Caligos will be learning more about his crewmates in just like day-to-day stuff, with little things like what flavors of pre-prepped meals stuff everyone prefers. And he's taking mental notes, not like super orderly writing things down, but just kind of keeping track of who likes what, who'll trade what. Like if we have like an MRE style meal and somebody always trades away this flavor to get extra Tabasco or, whatever.
It's pronounced Belasco.
No, nobody wants extra Belasco sauce. those
Maybe you don't.
Those
I'll trade some of that off.
Credits. But he'll take just like small mental notes of little things like that, and then he'll just happen to have some extra next time we're sitting down. Like next time Sally rotates through those meal packs and we're at a certain flavor, he'll just be there like ready and trading ahead of time, or just like little small things like that to try to like bring the crew together. And it shows that he's just kind of always paying attention to everyone around him. In what would be a creepy way if he wasn't so damn good-natured and sincere about it. But he listens, he pays attention to people's little favorites and verbal tics and stuff like that. And I think the food is a way to show that.
I volunteer to go around to say my favorite flavor and how I react. Anything with mushroom, especially if it's nice and spicy. And I look at you exceptionally suspiciously. I usually have my own. Sometimes when I accept it, I sniff it or run it through a chem detector.
Paranoia.
Well-earned paranoia. They are out to get me. What do you like to eat, Sparks?
I like pretty much everything. Except she's more of a processed soy eater more than any actual meat that came off of an animal.
So Velveeta.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Space Velveeta.
But she appreciates bland flavors mostly.
Space Velveeta.
She's not much into spicy stuff, but she's spending her time learning the ship's systems and interacting with Sally a lot, trying to figure out, so she can be quick on the draw if we have to fix something in the middle of a fight. Not that we're going to have a fight.
No.
I don't see that happening.
I'm sure we won't. Zan, what does your character do?
Mostly sits in the navigation chair, just kind of checking the course. Spending a lot of time drinking between the hours, and occasionally pulling out a small touchpad and writing stuff down.
All right.
Spend most of the time locked in my quarters.
Yeah, largely keeping to herself, but other than that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
We're going to start karaoke nights or something. We can't just...
And for favorite food, anything that comes off an animal, or maybe spaghetti, we're good.
Spaghetti?
The right planet, that can be the same thing.
Yes.
True.
Flying spaghetti
One-stop
monsters,
shop.
yo. Or flumps, I don't know. Is that Paizo or... Anyway.
Don't know. Eventually, though, you do actually reach your destination. It feels like forever. 17 days on the ship, and finally you drop out of the drift. And before you is this red dwarf star. It's not like that close to you, so it's like your entire view, but it's pretty close. It has a corona that's kind of like weirdly shaped with like almost rings around it, but they're slowly moving kind of in and out of each other, kind of like a gyroscope almost. Very random pattern. So you get a lot of movements, reds and oranges, and a really beautiful picture of this star. A little bit off to the side from that is this tiny little hunk of metal that you presume is the starbase you're going to. A much different site than the huge station you were been living on for a while. There's no fleet around this place either, so you're used to like hundreds of ships being around as well. That's not the case here. You can see like one ship that's docked up to the starbase, and it's not a very large one either. this is a much different change than you're used to.
I'm going to check the... Go ahead.
Nope, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to check the transponder, make sure this is the station we're trying to arrive at.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It says Arando Starbase on the transponder.
Oh,
So
wow,
do we
with
have
a bunch
like
of
a
other
frame
information.
screen or a window or something that we can see all this out of?
Yeah, Sally brings it up on one of the side panels, so it shows like a zoomed in version of your view. You can see some whiting around it. It's not colored at all. It's just bare metal for the station. Very plain. The white from the sun kind of like bounces off of it from a few different angles, so you get like some glare. But mostly it's pretty dark metal. There's a bunch of information about like the size of the station. It points out a couple different airwalks and an internal hangar that is able to be used for smaller ships.
I'm going to issue a docking request to the station.
After a few moments, you get cleared for docking, and
Okay.
they point you to airlock number 2.
I sit up straight in the ship, the chair at that point, and I basically program in the destination. I set the display to show our path, essentially, over space, how we're traveling through, and begin moving to the docking bay.
Ooh. Ah.
And Fortune Starbase, this is Captain Thane of Sally's Grace. Please also let Cap know that we're here for that meeting.
When did we agree on that name? I appear from nowhere.
Sally didn't say she didn't like it.
It's
I like
for me.
it. The
Eyes
chipper
narrow,
voice comes over the intercom. You get a reply from the starbase. Around the starbase to Sally. What did you name it again? Didn't actually catch that. Sally's Grace.
Sally's Grace.
Okay. Around the starbase to Sally's Grace. Docking approved. Please proceed to airlock number 2.
I'm consulting the uplink log. I assume that any station sends their rules and regs type thing as part of a docking clearance to see what the policy is on prohibited goods or weapons.
Yes. So they'll send you over their policies. It's a pretty standard policy for starbases that are operated by the Starfinder Society. They do not allow illegal goods or weapons. Of course, you would know, though, that if you can hide it, then you can get away with basically anything.
Or you could just not take it.
Thane doesn't look up their laws because A, they asked us for help, and B, laws are stupid. Social norms are important, but laws are dumb.
I'm going to look over my shoulder. Captain Thane. Sally's Grace.
What's it like playing lawful evil?
I don't know, it doesn't sound very lawful. Laws are stupid.
Oh god, I'm lawful evil. It finally happened. This is what 35 feels like.
And yes, Zan, I am Captain Thane, just like you are the helmsman of your very own ship that you get to helm. Helmswoman? Helmsperson? Which do you prefer?
Prefer to have a say in the name of the ship.
Yeah?
Well, maybe if half of our team wasn't brooding loners that stayed at their station for the last 17 days, more of us would have taken part in that conversation.
Yeah, fine. But out of curiosity, how many were part of this conversation?
Me and Sally.
That makes for 3/5 of us that were present. Counting Sally, of course.
I looked down at Sparks. That's fair.
It is.
Right, so by this time, the ship has managed to pull up next to the dockings, the airlock, and with a hiss of air as the pressure equalizes between the station and your ship, and the whirring of pistons, and the door opens from the sides, and you're greeted with a just like from the outside, the inside is equally as gray and dark, with lights kind of silhouetting the hallway. The light from your ship kind of pours out into the hallway a bit, and the industrial feel of this starbase definitely makes it seem like people haven't really made it a home yet. It's a fairly new station, and it's pretty bare. Just a bunch of mostly metal, and the staleness of the air greets you as you sort of get choked from the lack of humidity and the sort of almost inhospitable nature of the industrial feel of the station.
And our ship, it's a Pegasus class, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And it's super new, so I'm picturing it is maybe not quite like Star Trek levels of sleek and clean and pretty, but compared to this kind of Spartan industrial tiny little moon base type of thing, I imagine it kind of sucks stepping out of our ship and into this landing bay. By comparison, it's probably like leaving a hospital and stepping into its parking garage. It's kind of, I'm picturing it.
Yes.
Like we're all clean and fairly shiny and bright, and some sleek, smooth plastic and stuff. And then we've got this that will not show on Thane's face. His smooth, even features will look pleased to see whoever is here to meet us, and like he's happy to be stepping off the ship, and he will not show any inkling of disliking the smells or the kind of industrial lighting or any of the rest. He always looks happy to see whoever he's talking to, unless they're slavers or police involved in anti-android brutality.
I fall behind Thane, my hand kind of sliding against the sleek, smooth interior of our ship, stepping out into the cold airlock, looking around, and I say out loud, "What a piece of shit!"
So standing in front of you, illuminated from behind by soft blue lighting that kind of goes down the hallway for a little bit, is a male Kasathan. He has dark lavender skin with red twisting marks that go up his head. He wears the insignia of a captain in the Starfinder society. So presumably this is the person you came to meet. And he speaks in a soft but firm tone that is also a little bit welcoming. He says, I've been expecting you. Would you follow me this way to my office?
Thane will shake hands first, assuming that's accepted among Kasathan culture. And he will double check his sprawling language list. But yes, I do speak Kasathan, so I will greet him in Kasathan with, hello, Captain Mendelsohn, we are glad to be here. And then offer a shake or a fist bump or a hip wiggle or whatever is an appropriate greeting in Kasathan culture for a kind of subordinate to a superior paramilitary officer.
If he has a goatee, it's fist to chest and then out.
You can't really tell if he has a goatee. He has a face covering with some red markings on it. A little bit decorative, but not very decorative compared to other ones you've seen from Kasathans. Definitely a product of a military and simple stylings. As he spins to turn around in his sharp maneuver, you can hear his boots sort of like echo down the hallway a little bit, and he takes off in that direction at a steady pace that is easy to keep up with.
I conceal my sniper rifle just behind the entry ramp, or like just inside the doorway before the entry ramp leading down into the station. So if we do have to run back, I can grab it easily. Other than that, I've just got my knife on me.
Yep. The further you get away from your ship, the more the smells of the station sort of like come up and sort of assault you. And instead of the nice, pleasant, clean atmosphere that was on your ship, this one smells industrial. It smells very chemical, clean. You can almost get the very faint aroma of oil as well.
Shiny and new.
I'm going to pull my laser pistol out, make sure the safety's engaged, and reholster it, and then fall behind everybody.
Okay. So you end up walking past this cantina, and it's called Corona. And it's not very large from what you can see, but there are a few patrons on the inside. It has a nice big window that it gives a nice view of the stars. After a little bit further, you end up at the offices for the Starfinder Society. Very sleek, not a lot of furnishings, and what is there is very basic. So very unlike the headquarters on Absalon Station, where there was wood paneling and wooden desks, leather chairs, and those sorts of things. This is a lot more plain metal, very function over form is how things work out here. But it's enough to get the job done. So he offers you some seats, of which there's only 2 chairs in his office.
Thane will cast a bit of a glance over his shoulder as we walk past Corona, just to make sure that Belasco is still with the group. Like as we round the next corner or whatever, just like a nondescript little, okay, cool, we didn't lose him. He's not out there gambling away the ship or stabbing anybody.
I return the look and go like...
and then once we get to the office, Thane will pointedly not sit. He'll let somebody else have the 2 chairs that are available.
Lean against the entry door jamb, arms crossed.
I'll sit in a chair, very unpretentiously.
All right, after giving you all a few minutes or a few moments to settle in, he says, "Thank you for coming out to the station. We've run into a little bit of trouble with a recent expedition we sent out. There's a planet not too far from here, about 6 days through the drift. We sent a small team of 3 Starfinders to meet a new culture that we had heard had only in the last few years made contact with alien civilizations. This place is not exactly on the technological level that we like to make contact with, but since they had already been contacted by other alien races, we thought it'd be prudent to meet them ourselves and find out information about them and give them some information about us and help them along and share, information."
Thane's antenna will perk up almost comically.
Think almost about it.
So 3 weeks ago, we sent out a team, and they were supposed to interact with the people of the planet Crosa, and they were supposed to spend a few months there just being sort of ambassadors and explorers, and maybe a little bit of scientists as well, depending on what might be needed in the situation. But they were unable to stay the entire length of their expedition. An incident happened, and they've since returned to the station, and a few days ago. One of them has died, and another has been afflicted by a rather strange malady. And there's only one of the crew members that made it back, who is what I would consider healthy. There is on the expedition, there was, well, you know what, maybe it's probably better if you just go talk to Kapala yourself. They can probably give you a much better accounting of what happens. You can find what?
So whatever happened, it must have happened quickly. If it takes 6 days to drift there and 6 days back, and if they returned a few days ago, then it must have happened in less than a standard week on planet.
Yeah, that is correct. They were unable to do very much of anything before this incident happens. And in fact, time may be of the essence in getting back there. But I will let Kapala tell you a little bit more about what's happened. But briefly, there seems to be a widespread madness going around the planet. There are mass hallucinations resulting in untold chaos on the planet. So it would behoove you to speak with Kapala to find out. I would prefer you leave pretty quickly for Krosa in order to figure out what's going on and help out the people of this planet if you can.
Of course. Can you have a maintenance crew start to seeing to some refueling needs while we go speak with
I assume you have
Absolutely.
the ship's black box?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we can. What would you be interested from that I can have some of the files pulled and sent to you?
All of it. We'll
All
have
of
plenty
it.
of time going there to look at it.
Very well.
Sally, our onboard AI, can assist with any data transfer.
All right, that sounds easy. I'll have someone make sure that you get all of that data.
All right. Where can we meet Starfinder Kapala, and what do we need to know about what happened to them before we have a conversation?
I don't think there's anything extra you might need to know. You can find them over in the medical facility, which is just down the hall.
Right then, we'll be on our way. Thank you, Captain.
He nods at you.
I scurry after my team. I look a little trepidatious.
As we leave, I'm going to say, yeah, it suddenly suddenly realize why they sent us.
Zan, Velasco, let's make sure we're nice. This Kapala has been through something pretty terrible.
Eyes narrow.
You don't get to be the Drow Edgelord and then be all shocked when somebody reminds you that compassion is a thing.
You get to stay the Edgelord by questioning whenever somebody calls you out on it.
Oh, Lord.
So, to the med bay.
Indeed.
All right, so the four of you walk towards the med bay, your footsteps echoing down the different corridors. Almost by
place is really
echolocation,
creepy.
you can kind of find where you're going. Yeah, they could really use some some sort of sound dampening type systems, or I don't know, some
Or more people.
carpet people. Yeah. Now that you mention it, there really aren't that many beings on this starbase.
They should consider some plants to brighten the place up. Free oxygen, renewal. A little green never hurt anybody.
That's
So about
actually a really good idea.
a few seconds later, you end up in the medical facility, which is more like a medical room than a facility. It's not very large, and it is sterile though. Unlike the rest of the starbase, the lighting is quite bright in here. The air definitely smells more like chemicals and sort of herbs and medicines, and the air is a little bit more to your liking than in the other parts. Seems like this is definitely a place where they're trying to make things more comfortable for the people who would be in it.
Is there a doctor on staff? And if so, I move to talk to them immediately.
Yep, there's a female woman, or a human woman, excuse me, who is attending to an unconscious human that's lying on a bed, and then there's a Demaya Lashunta sitting off in a chair in the corner of the room.
All right, I head straight for the doctor.
She notices you're all here, and she turns to greet you and say, "Oh, hi. I was told that some people would be on their way."
Who are those people? Hi.
Welcome.
How are your patients doing?
Nod politely at the doctor.
So she nods to the one on the table and says, "Well, Saba here, I've put into a medically induced coma for now. It's probably for the best considering all the hallucinations that he was experiencing. I think it's probably best for the safety of everyone that he remains in this state for at least a little while until I can figure out what's wrong."
Have you ruled out any chemical, biological, perhaps some kind of parasite? Is it contagious, Doctor?
It does. Well, it definitely doesn't seem to be contagious. Or at least if it is, I have no idea what the vector is. There doesn't seem to be any sort of parasites in the body. There doesn't seem to be any sort of chemical that I can find either. Unfortunately, this facility isn't fully stocked with any sort of advanced medical equipment. This is more like a triage type center. It's very likely that I'll have to send Saba off to some other starbase to get a little bit more thorough scans completed. But from everything I can see, he's perfectly healthy, just hallucinating. And unfortunately, these hallucinations are causing some very violent responses from him, and which requires him to be unconscious now.
I'm sure you're doing the best you can, Doctor. Cap sent us to speak with Kappa.
Yeah, that's them over there. And you see the Lashunta kind of glance up at you, but they look really timid and sort of cut off from the outside world.
Kind of disassociate-y type of stuff? All right.
Yeah.
Are they under the influence of any medication?
No. They seem to be, healthy, just like Saba here, but just sort of cut off from the world and not responding to a whole lot. They'll talk to you for sure, but definitely they're definitely standoffish.
Right. The tips of Caligos's antenna will glow a little bit, and I will reach out very gently with our Lashunta telepathy to kind of say hello to Kapala silently. And so, hello, Kapala. I am Caligos. My friends and I are here to help. Can we come speak to you?
I whisper to Caligos, are you entirely sure you want to touch the mind of a person who's suffering from madness?
Yeah, well, I already did it.
Doctor, the victims, what species were they?
All right, so I'll answer that first, and I'll go back to Bane and the conversation with Kapala. The doctor says that the crew member who did not make it is Julikesh. He was a Vesk, and he died from laser wounds. And from what I gather, it was Saba that shot him multiple times.
Yikes.
Fun.
Very meekly, you get a response telepathically from Kapala. She says, hi, I'm not doing so well. I'm willing to talk, but I don't have a lot of energy at the moment.
I will stick with the telepathy, but he'll still smile. Like he can't help but like show like friendly, courteous, pleasant facial expression stuff, even if nobody else can hear the conversation. But yeah, so his little antenna will twitch a little and it'll glow very kind of gently. And he'll say, well, we have a few minutes while our ship is being refueled. Would you like it if we came back in a few moments?
No. The sooner you leave, you might be able to help them.
He will respond with, that's very much what we hope. And then he will speak aloud and kind of gesture the group over. This is Kapala. She would like to speak with us.
So,
Hello, Kapala.
She very like meekly and without a whole lot of energy acknowledges the group and speaks very softly. There's a big disaster going on in Krosa. When we arrived, things seemed normal, but shortly after we got there, people started to see things that weren't there, and some people became really violent and started to shoot at things that weren't there, at other people. Other people saw things that they liked and sort of didn't notice their surroundings and got hurt because they couldn't sort of deal with what was reality versus what they couldn't see. And Saba, and she glances over at Saba on the table. Saba kept saying something about the trees were attacking, and eventually he turned towards Julikesh and threatened to shoot him, and Julikesh tried to calm down Saba, but Saba thought a tree was attacking him, and Saba shot, not once, but kept shooting at what he called the tree. And at that range, Julikesh couldn't move or get to the weapon quick enough to disarm Saba, and oh my gosh. But that was just our party. There's so many people that are being affected by this. I don't know what happened. It was all that I could do. me and Fondi were able to get Julakesh's body back to our ship, and we were able to get Saba to come with us. I left as soon as we could, but Saba never got better. So many people. Not everyone was affected, though. Some people were okay. I never saw any weird things like happening myself. I don't know what was going on.
Thane's gonna not even like sidestep necessarily, but just sway a little bit to the side enough to keep Kapala from having to see Saba right now. Like just kind of like physically putting himself between Kapala and like that remembered threat. And you go, so you made it sound like Julakesh was not affected, and it seems that you weren't either. What species were the people on Krosa? Were they humans like Saba?
They're Krosan. They're their own species. They're shorter, like dwarves, but not that small. They're stocky and compact, and she holds her hand up to right around like 5 feet or so. They're built that way probably because of the strong winds that are on their planet. Their size and build makes it easier to presumably stay sturdy on the ground.
Were there any other non-Krosans on planet, or is it just the 3 of you?
I never saw any other species besides Krosan.
So Fondi, who helped you get back to the ship, is that a local?
Yes, that was the guide that helped us navigate Yalinar. And, well, we didn't get to see very much, but Fondi does know Common and was able to speak with us, but it was we needed her to be able to talk to anyone else there.
Did Fondi make it back to the ship with you, or did she stay on planet?
She stayed on the planet. Yeah, she stayed back to try to make sure that her family was okay.
Thane will give kind of an understanding little smile there. It sounds like Fondi was very brave, and it sounds like the 3 of you did the best you could. I know we're not going to speak to Saba. We will leave him unconscious. Best for everyone. Is there anything else you can think of to tell us that might help keep us or anyone else safe when we go to Krosa? How did this madness start? Was there a strange smell in the air? Were people eating of similar food? Anything you can remember?
Thane, what god do they worship there?
I will shrug in response.
She says they worship a god of winds. They refer to it as Sandar.
I see.
No, I'm trying to remember. I don't really remember any starting point. It didn't get really bad all of a sudden. It was a gradual process. Saba started talking about the trees looking angry, and I didn't know what he was talking about. None of us did. But then the very next day is when things started to get a lot worse, where he thought they were actually coming to get him. So it took a couple days from the first signs of the madness before he started to act violently.
Do you have any idea how widespread this was amongst the people of Krosa?
It was hard to tell. We were in the capital city, Antanya. That is in one of their 2 continents, Yalinar. It seems pretty widespread inside the city, and there were reports of it happening throughout the region. I don't know if it was the entire planet or not.
So they've had medical people here helping you. Have they had any arcane people look at you? Or look at...
No, there's no one here on this station that knows arcane.
I've been just biding my time in the back, but my eyes are glowing softly, and I'm using detect magic on the 2 patients.
Okay. Is there any roll you need to make for that? No, it's just reading like auras, basically.
Yeah.
You don't see anything that would make you think this is magical. Of course, you also know that it's been a few days since they were in the area. You think that whatever is affecting Saba now isn't currently magical, which wouldn't necessarily preclude anything magical happening on the planet. You just don't see anything at the moment.
So, to use out-of-character terms, it could have been like an instantaneous spell with a permanent effect, but it's not like a lingering enchantment? Would that kind of descriptor? Potentially.
Potentially, yes, exactly. There's no magic currently around them at all. So whatever is affecting them is permanent, or at least seems to be permanent at the moment.
Sand damage.
If it yes, that's definitely something it could be. Yeah.
I suspect I've done all I can here. I go over to the doctor. Is their ship still docked?
Yes, it is.
Alright, I'm just gonna wait for everybody else.
I will just quirk an eyebrow at both Belasco and Sparks, because I know that they're the ones that can spot magic stuff. And I will look for any sort of nod versus headshake from them.
No.
My God, the madness is in the internet! Sparks, fix it!
I'm working on it, jeez. But I would go ahead and do my own detect magic just to kind of make sure that it's basically the same.
Yeah, you get the same thing. There's no magic going on here at the moment.
Same feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
And I am in no way offended.
Well, that's fine.
I like multiple passes.
I will speak up then, both to our patient and our doctor, and say, so that you both know, both Belasco and Sparks are fairly adept in the arcane arts, and neither of them can detect any lingering traces of enchantment magics or any sort of divine or profane curse.
I muttered to Sparks, how the hell did he know that?
Out of character, it's because we've been working together for a while. Sorry, I didn't mean to give up a secret for you.
You get out of my head!
Yeah.
Anyway,
So-
I will amend the statement to only include Sparks then, so Belasco can stay mysterious and nobody knows anything.
Ah,
I'm just
The
a sucker
doctor,
for continuity.
pulls-
I'm not being edgy.
The doctor pulls up a like a notepad and starts making some notes. Oh, okay, thank you. That will go into the report when we send Saba off to a more competent facility.
How long have they been here under your care?
They've been here for 2 days now.
It's a little
Oh.
soon. It's a little soon for any sign of real recovery.
Yes, yeah. Essentially, I've exhausted what options I had just a few hours ago. We're waiting on a ship to come in order to pick them both up to hopefully treat them for what might be lingering still.
Look over at Thane. Do you feel we've accomplished here what you set out to do? Perhaps we should search their ship.
You go ahead and take a look. I'll double check that there's nothing else Kopala can think of to tell us.
Look over at the doctor after nodding to him. Please forward all of your observations and logs to our ship AI.
Yeah. She nods at you.
Thank you. Good luck. Step out the airlock door and start heading for the ship. Anybody who wants to come can.
I'll just point out, you can clear it with Captain Mendelsohn if you need to. We've gotten permission from him to look over their ship records as well. We're going to have 6 days in the drift on the way to this planet. The more information we have to be prepared before we arrive, the better. So their medical records would be of some assistance, perhaps.
Yeah, you can definitely get their medical records.
So yeah, just kind of making sure that the doc knows that it's officially cleared.
Yeah.
And then I will reach out just kind of gently through our Lushunta telepathy again, and just, kind of the equivalent of like a gentle and soft tone thing, and with an appropriate, I guess, honorific, for lack of a better term, but something like cousin or, a friendly Lushunta term with, can you think of anything else that might help us, cousin? Or do you have an idea of where we might be able to find this Fundi to help her and her family once we arrive?
You can probably ask the consulate when you show up. They should send you a comm message when you arrive at the planet, and they will arrange for her to meet you. Since they'll be certain to know that you are with our organization if you mention it, and they will be able to find Fondi.
I have some concerns that if this malady has spread before our return, the consulate may not be able or willing to communicate with us. Do you know anything about Fondi that might help us to help her upon our arrival in Antanya if the consulate cannot help us?
You see like her expression change a little bit to like one of like remembering, and she pulls out her comm device and says, yeah, I just remembered she gave me an emergency code that I could use to contact her if we got separated and for an extended period of time, you might be able to use this to find her.
Thane will beam at her and, not like a childish, I'm so proud of you, but like good, this is excellent, yay. This the kind of sincerely happy, hey, we can help somebody face. And he will do whatever is necessary to sync up. I've got a data pad, and I know that it counts as like a comm unit and extra. So I don't know if it's like a wireless thing, if we got to tap them, if we need to exchange numbers, whatever is necessary in universe to sync up that data. He will make sure to get that frequency or whatever.
She then mentions though that they don't have wireless communications though. You won't be able to use your physical comm device to call them. You'll need to use their local system for that. Radio waves can communicate with your ship, but their phone system is all hardwired.
I had heard that they were a little lower tech, yes. I'm sure we can get details of how communications will work from your ship logs. And I'm sure that Sparks looks forward to getting her paws dirty should they have any tech emergencies we can assist with. Can you think of anything else that might help us to help these people?
No, I don't know. There are so many that were afraid, and so many being hurt. It all happened without any reason that I could figure out.
It's fine, Kopala. You have given us more to work with than we could have hoped. You rest now and heal up. We will leave into the drift and see what we can do to help these people. I thank you.
And she says, be steady. Back to you.
His antenna will quiver a little bit and kind of curiosity there, but he will let her rest. And then, out of character, I believe we had our Drow Edgelord making some perception rolls or something for ship. So I think we can cut to him as we're wrapping up here.
Okay.
Get me that edgy. I'm with him.
In a completely non-edgy way, as Zan and I are walking to the ship. Sparks, you stayed with Calgos, right?
Aye.
Cool. All right, so as we're walking, think it's some kind of field or... Forgive me, I know you're a good pilot, but are you trained in the physical sciences at all?
Not much. It sounds like some mystic shit to me, though.
Perhaps. I didn't see anything, but it's possible they left something behind. So, come up to the boarding ramp for their ship or airlock. Is it sealed off or quarantined or...
It has been sealed. It's basically medically quarantined, but there's like a guard stationed there.
All right, step up to him. Hello. We're here to search the ship. I believe you'll find Captain Mendelsohn has given us authorization.
Yep. I don't know if I'd recommend staying around too long there. We're really not sure what's going on. So for your sanity, I guess, maybe not taking your time would be in your best interest.
Agreed.
Never be too careful.
Walk over to the survival cabinet that's probably nearby on a space station. Pull out a pair of gas masks. Hand one to Zan.
I'll go to put it on.
You never know. Please open the door.
So he turns around to the panel, hits some buttons, and with the same sort of like hissing and whirring of like pistons and things, the doors open up, and it opens up to a smallish shuttle type sized spacecraft. It is warmly lit. Instead of like bright white lights, this is sort of like warm, like orangish yellow type lights on board. There's a lot of there's some posters up of Starfinder, not propaganda, but
My
images of
first
different planets and
they've already been recruited.
Starfinders want you.
But it's kind of different locations of scenic places throughout the galaxy. None that you recognize, but just the sort of artsy type of pictures that you're used to seeing if you were to search for those kinds of things. It definitely looks lived in. There's this makeshift bed that's been made up where there's a lot of medical supplies next to it. See, the air smells kind of neutral, I guess. Sort of like a lack of anything almost.
The scrubbers have been going on with nobody in it for a while. That makes sense.
Precisely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we got gas masks, so how could we tell?
When they do one of these posters for Corson, it should say, "You'll go mad for it." Your little tagline.
No.
I shake my head, face palm slightly, and go, "I'll admit that's funny, but this is the wrong time." Okay, go
Let's
over to
look
bed.
around.
Yeah, I'll go over to where they've got what looks like the little triage cot, and I will pull out my med kit and see if I can take some samples of sweat or whatever that's there. After that,
you have a skill in anything relevant.
well, medicine.
That sounds pretty darn relevant.
So it's not life science, but
Close
something.
enough. Yeah, would you mind rolling to see?
Of course. 20.
Okay. You remember back to your training or just the experiences you've had, and you don't have much trouble collecting samples from the sort of the blanket that's down there, and even some of the tools that were used to provide treatment. You can definitely get samples from that.
I'm going to do the same in the crew quarters for comparatives. Other than that, Zen, let's head for the cockpit, see if we can find anything there that somehow didn't make it in the black box, get the crew records, take a look at the engine, and get any sensor sweeps. Sound good?
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to walk up and I'm going to fire up the basically the navigation console and make a copy directly from there of their navigation logs, make sure they didn't pass through any kind of weird anomalies, anything of that nature, make sure they went to where they said they were going, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that checks out. That there's no weird blips in the logs. They went on the path that looks very direct. They didn't have to make any shortcuts or any jogs anywhere.
I'd like to make 2 quick rolls. One for perception, just to see if there's anything cool that I can find. I got a 18 on that. And I would also like to make a computer roll to try to hack their system. If they were suffering from some kind of madness, there's a chance paranoia is one of them, and they might have started keeping private journals or making backdoor hacks or something. One of them was shooting at another. There's a possibility that something. Anyway. And computer, I got a 20.
Nice. Okay. So on the computer, you see that there is some journaling that was being done by Kapala, sort of logging what was going on. It kind of reads like someone who is going through grief. There's details in parts where they're doing their job, where chronicling things and trying to put down as much detail as possible. and then it just like kind of rambles on a bit about like their relationship with Juakesh and sort of like laments that they didn't really get to fully tell him how they felt and those sorts of things. But then it goes back to some details. There isn't really any extra detail that would be more than what they told you in the medical facility. So more just it written down, places that they visited, where they were staying, that kind of stuff.
If I look through these journals, I have a professional writer. Can I give you any kind of insight on what their mindset was? Maybe any subtext they didn't actually write down, but maybe or hinted at in the text?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of grief going on. Regret. You can compare it to some other WOGs that they've written previously, and there's a big contrast in style. The previous logs were technical, but had a lot of upbeat personality and character to it, and the ones from the last few days, well, the ones ever since things kind of went south, have been a lot more negative and emotionally in a bad place than before.
Does it seem like it's from the same writer, though? The same kind of turns of phrases, this and that, just different emotional context, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, awesome use of a skill.
Thank you.
Anything on that perception check for just physical clues, markings? Did anybody scratch a repeated culty phrase into a wall?
Ooh, yeah, that'd be helpful.
No, Yog-Sothoth, Yog-Sothoth, Raleigh, Cthulhu Fatang.
There's no like phrases, but you do find what looks to be this sort of like a willow tree type shape, or it's hard to tell, scratched into the crew quarters for Sava.
I'm going to put a little extra look around in that quarters. If there's nothing else, that's cool, but you never know.
There's nothing that seems
image of that tree
super out of the ordinary. Their living spaces look pretty well lived in, unlike the starbase. And Saba's quarters are definitely a lot more distraught than the rest of the place. Some scratches like around the door, as if maybe Saba had been unwillingly restrained in his quarters.
Mm-hmm. All right. We'll do a quick once through on the ship. Recorders on. We can look back. Enhance later on the trip. Engine room, armory, whatever they've got. Take some quick samples of their food. Anything biological, spores, seeds. I mean, the tree seems to factor into this mythology, so let's keep an eye open for that stuff. We're not professionals, but thankfully we have one in our little mouse engineer. So, yeah, just for the sake of wrapping up and moving it along. Okay, anything else for Zan? I don't want to hog this.
No, basically just following behind with you, checking things out, take a couple of photos of that tree, and then everything else.
Cool.
Instruments, panels, record it all.
Excellent. Yeah, that's not a problem.
The only thing Caligos had left planned would be just reporting back to Cap before we leave with, hey, this is what we heard. We're done refueling. We're going to take off. And I'm just fine with glossing over that scene and us coming back after our commercial break to just being in space on the way to planet. Like, unless he's going to have something cool to say, we're just giving kind of a polite update, let him know that it didn't look like magic. We have an Arcanimarium sage that investigated, and it did not seem to be any sort of magical curse. But just give him a quick little update, thank him for their time and resources, let him know that we'll be taking off to the drift as soon as we're fueled up, and I'm fine with us cutting straight to space.
One last thing.
Yeah.
I want to grab a couple of food packs from the cantina and have them pour a drink, but then I bottle it and just thank you. Go back to the ship. Easy. I want to make sure that if we find something comparative when we're on our way, that it hasn't spread to the station, so, we might have a solution when we get back instead of people shooting at us.
Good idea.
That seems reasonable.